Thank you. The final item of business this evening is a members' business debate on motion 19003 in the name of Kenneth Gibson on congratulations to CHAP on 25 years of serving the community. This debate will be concluded without any questions being put. I would invite those members who would wish to speak in the debate. Please press the request to speak buttons, and I call on Kenneth Gibson to open the debate. Up to 7 minutes, please.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I am grateful to SNP, Conservative and Green colleagues for enabling this debate to take place. Today we recognise an important milestone for Ayrshire and for Scotland's wider third sector community. For 25 years, the Community Housing Advocacy Project, known as CHAP, has provided guidance, advocacy and practical support to people facing some of the most challenging circumstances a household can encounter. CHAP's longevity is not only a testament to the necessity of its work, but also to the dedication, professionalism and resilience of the staff and volunteers who have shaped it over the last 2.5 decades. What began as a modest group of volunteers offering basic housing advice has grown into a respected, multi-service organisation supporting individuals and families across North, East and much of South Ayrshire. When CHAP opened its doors in 2000, it operated from a small office in Stevenston, supported by local community activists who recognised that a growing number of local households were struggling with household insecurity. Today, CHAP provides 6 service streams, employs 26 dedicated staff in its modern Ardrossan premises and, as its most recent annual report shows, achieves a highly impressive 98% client satisfaction rate. CHAP's early volunteers saw the pain caused when people lacked clear information on their rights or were unable to navigate the maze of processes required to resolve disputes or prevent homelessness. From the outset, CHAP's founders understood a reality that continues to define its work today. Housing problems and financial difficulties rarely arrive one at a time. They tend to cluster, often appearing suddenly and without warning. Illness, redundancy, caring responsibilities, relationship breakdown or bereavement all can destabilise a household that had previously been secure. Despite relying heavily on short-term non-recurring funding, CHAP has maintained this commitment to free, accessible support. Its ability to continue providing vital services in the face of financial uncertainty is a remarkable achievement, reflecting not only good governance, but a deep dedication to the communities it serves, ensuring that no one is turned away because they cannot afford help. CHAP achieved charitable status in 2000, formalising its position within the advice sector. With this change came a period of expansion. While housing advocacy remained its core function, CHAP soon recognised the need to broaden its remit. Debt advice, welfare rights support, mediation services and later financial education initiatives all emerged from the same underlying purpose: to help people regain control of their lives at moments when everything feels uncertain. One of CHAP's most recognisable contributions today is its work in schools and colleges. Its homelessness awareness sessions, which began in the mid-2000s, were developed in response to feedback from young people who felt ill-prepared for financial realities of independent life. Over time, these sessions evolved into a comprehensive programme of financial literacy workshops covering budgeting, household bills, borrowing, savings and consumer rights. Delivered with a clear focus on prevention, these workshops equip young people with the knowledge and confidence to navigate adult life. Alongside its educational work, CHAP has invested heavily in improving the professional standards of its advice services. Since 2009, the organisation has held Type 3 accreditation under the Scottish National Standards for Information and Advice Providers, the highest level available. Securing and maintaining this accreditation is no small undertaking. It requires audits, staff training and consistent demonstration of excellent case management, record keeping and client care. The outcomes achieved by CHAP speak volumes. Pro rata projections from the organisation indicate that if every local authority had an accredited debt recovery service, more than £493 million would accrue into local economies across Scotland. Between August 2021 and July 2025, CHAP alone secured £10.4 million in financial gains for 1,230 clients. This includes £85,988 of individual debt written off last year alone. For many, these figures represent far more than improved finances. 75% of clients reporting reduced stress levels over the last year. Presiding Officer, it is also important to recognise the role that emergency Scottish Government funding has played in enabling CHAP to sustain its operations during particularly challenging periods, and I thank the Cabinet Secretary personally for an intervention in that regard. This support has allowed essential services to continue uninterrupted and ensured that frontline advisers could remain available to the people who depend so much on them. That recognition of CHAP's value has made a meaningful difference to so many. However, CHAP's experience also highlights a broader truth shared by many organisations across Scotland's third sector. CHAP received 2,422 referrals over the last year, a 37% increase compared to the previous 12 months. While emergency or short-term funding can provide temporary relief for CHAP and similar organisations, long-term security is essential for organisations that deliver core services. A more stable funding landscape, one that supports core operating costs as well as project-based activity, would allow organisations like CHAP to plan confidently, retain skilled staff and continue delivering the high-quality services that constituents rely on. Initiative-itis, whereby funds are provided for shiny new pilot projects, should never be at the expense of funding proven, impactful work that organisations know and trust will definitely help their clients. This is a practical suggestion grounded in evidence and common purpose. CHAP's success demonstrates the enormous value of early intervention support. When organisations like CHAP are given the resources to succeed, families stay in their homes, debts are resolved more constructively, young people make informed decisions and communities become more resilient. Everyone benefits. As we reflect on CHAP's 25 years of service, we also reflect on the thousands of lives shaped by its work. CHAP reminds us that communities are built not only through public services, but through grassroots organisations that understand the complexities and pressures of everyday life in their communities. I'm honoured to recognise this achievement today and to celebrate the lasting impact CHAP has had across Ayrshire and beyond. Presiding Officer, I want to take this opportunity to wish the Community Housing Advocacy Project all the very best for the next 25 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Gibson. I now call Christine Graham to be followed by Pam Gozo. Ms Graham.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Deputy Presiding Officer. I congratulate my colleague Kenny Gibson on securing this debate, and I'm very pleased to speak in support of this motion, congratulating the Community Housing Advocacy Project, CHAP, on an extraordinary 25 years of service to the people of Ayrshire. This is a charity whose origins lie in the simplest but most powerful of ideas, that everyone deserves access to independent, free and compassionate housing advice. What began with volunteers offering advocacy support has evolved into delivering professional welfare rights assistance, money and debt advice and vital outreach services across the region. CHAP has shown what it means to put dignity, prevention and empowerment at the heart of community support. They have retained high-level accreditation under the Scottish National Standards for Information and Advice Providers for over a decade. That's no small achievement. And between August 2021 and July 2025, they delivered more than £10 million in financial gains for their clients. I'll repeat that, £10 million in financial gains for their clients. That is money directly into the pockets of people who needed it most. It is poverty alleviated, homelessness prevented and lives stabilised. And importantly, additionally, it is public money saved through early and effective intervention. I want to warmly congratulate everyone involved with CHAP, its staff, volunteers, trustees and partners. Their commitment to providing all their services free of charge, despite operating in a funding landscape dominated by short-term and non-recurring grants, is a testament to their integrity and determination. Few third sector organisations manage to survive, let alone thrive for 25 years without stable core funding. CHAP has done so because the need for their work is profound and because their impact is undeniable, and they succeed. But today's debate is not just about celebrating one organisation. It is about recognising the principles that sit at the heart of CHAP's success. Principles that apply far beyond Ayrshire and principles which apply in constituencies like my own in Midlothian South, Tweeddale and Lauderdale. Number one is prevention. CHAP intervenes before crisis hits, before someone loses their home, before debt becomes unmanageable, before a young person slips into homelessness. Prevention must be the cornerstone of our national approach to housing and poverty, especially as councils prepare for new, quotes, ask and act, close quotes, homelessness prevention duties. Rural communities in Midlothian and the Borders know all too well that prevention is not just good policy, it is essential when services are stretched and distances are long. 2 is accessibility. CHAP takes its services into communities through outreach, through partnership, through going to where people actually are. For my constituents, that's places like Innerleith and Lauder Stow in West Linton. Access to advice often depends on this kind of model. We need more organisations adopting that outward-looking, barrier-reducing approach, not fewer. 3 is independence. People facing crisis, whether financial, house-related or personal, need advice they can trust. CHAP's insistence on being independent and free from conflict is a core reason why individuals feel safe seeking their help. That principle is vital across Scotland, especially in rural and semi-rural areas where anonymity can be harder to maintain and trust is everything. CHAP treats people as citizens with rights, not problems to be managed. That sensitive personal ethos is essential if we are to build resilient communities. Presiding officer, while CHAP's work is rooted in Ayrshire, the lessons they offer are national. There is not a CHAP in my constituency, but there we have the Citizens Advice Bureau, which deliver much of what CHAPS does. Having recently visited our CABs, in particular Pennycook very recently, I can testify to that. So today, yes, we congratulate CHAP on 25 remarkable years. They are there when needed. One can't say more than that. And I commend them, and if I may, the Citizens Advice Bureaus in my constituency. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Graham. And I call Pam Gozo. Ms Gozo.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Before I begin my speech, I would also like to thank my colleague Kenneth Gibson for bringing forward this important members' business to Parliament, and to congratulate the Community Housing Advocacy Project, commonly known as CHAP, on their 25th anniversary, and to thank them for the great work they do. CHAP offers free housing advocacy, professional advice, support and welfare rights, debt management and education services on homelessness awareness. On Friday, I was fortunate enough to visit CHAP in Ardrossan and meet the team members Laura, Liz, Andrea, Christine and Joyce. During this visit, I got to hear first-hand about all the excellent work done by CHAP for the community and at the local schools. I was very pleased to hear one of the areas that CHAP are working on is providing vital life skills to secondary school children. This includes lessons in relation to how households work when it comes to managing finances at home, including gas and electricity bills, mortgage payments, car payments and budgeting. Presiding Officer, we all know how important it is to equip our youngsters in school with the right skills. These skills will not only benefit them in the long term, but will also then assist them to help their parents. These preventative measures will help individual households, but also the government as well, in the long term, as people will be less reliant on public services, hopefully resulting in less pressure on the public purse. After all, according to the Sutton Trust, 96% of teachers believe that life skills are as, if not more important than formal academic qualifications in determining how well young people do in adulthood. This is something of particular interest, as a couple of years ago I had put forward a policy which would teach children basic life skills such as these. However, for CHAP and other organisations to be able to conduct these important lessons, they need to be properly funded. Right now, CHAP is the only independent organisation in Ayrshire delivering such work to schools and the community. However, inadequate funding, which also leads to instability, could stop this work, as well as other important projects from happening. Another issue of great challenge was highlighted by CHAP was connectivity and the lack of public transport in Ardrossan and in around the surrounding areas. I heard first-hand from one of the employees that she relies solely on car travel from Dalroy to Ardrossan, a privilege that not everybody has. Connectivity and access to good public transport are so important for towns like Ardrossan, both socially and economically, especially with the rate of unemployment above the Scottish average in North Ayrshire. Good transport links help people join the job market, but also make their everyday lives easier. In closing, Presiding Officer, I hope in her closing remarks, the Cabinet Secretary joins me and others in congratulating CHAP for their great work on their 25th anniversary and outlines how the Scottish Government addresses some of the challenges I have mentioned.
Thank you, Ms Gozo. I now call on Cabinet Secretary Mara McCallan to respond to the debate. Up to 7 minutes, please.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. I should like to begin by thanking Mr Gibson for his motion and for his ongoing support and advocacy for the Community Housing and Advocacy Project, which is so clearly a valued support for so many in his constituency. And I want to thank him also for providing the opportunity for me, on behalf of the Government, to reflect on the truly life-changing work that's delivered by the third sector right across our country that complements and contributes to the Scottish Government's priorities, including, of course, the work of CHAP. Presiding Officer, I've listened carefully to contributions during the course of this discussion, and I am heartened that members across the Chamber so value the work of community-based organisations such as CHAP, which we all know are so often a lifeline for struggling households. I have heard, however, their concerns about the fragility of the third sector, and I do want to cover that in some of my remarks. However, firstly, I'm delighted to acknowledge the inspirational volunteers who founded CHAP and those who have carried its mission forward over 25 years. Their determination and commitment will undoubtedly have changed thousands of lives across Ayrshire. The Scottish Government recognises the skills, the kindness and the commitment of volunteers, and I would like to put on the record, and on behalf of Scottish ministers, our thanks to them all. Volunteers are the backbone of our third sector. They are the invisible threads that bind communities together. Hundreds of volunteers who step forward and give their time freely, they make an extraordinary contribution to other people's lives and support the well-being of our communities the length and breadth of the country. They are people making vital contributions without fanfare, without reward, simply because they believe in a better society. And of course, volunteering benefits the volunteer as well, building skills, enhancing employability and supporting physical and mental well-being. And of course, our rich and vibrant third sector continues to make Scotland a better place. And whilst we invest heavily to support them, I do recognise the real pressures that they are facing. Given the financial context and in light of that, we're committed to doing all we can to improve their sustainability. And in this respect, we are delivering on our commitment to develop a fairer funding approach by providing more multi-year funding to third sector organisations who are delivering frontline services, providing the opportunity for that long-term planning and development that we know is so important. And in that regard, Kenny Gibson recognised the funding that the Scottish Government has offered to CHAP this year to help sustain their debt service whilst they explore sustainable funding solutions. This is vital support for the local community, given... I will in a moment, yeah, absolutely. I'll just finish this point. It's a vital piece of support, given that there is an absence of other advice services in the area. And I will take...
Christine Graham.
Cabinet Secretary, as you're aware, many in the voluntary sector are suffering from the national insurance increase for employers, impacting on many charities. Do you think that the UK Treasury should look at this again, the impact that has had on the charitable sector?
Cabinet Secretary.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree with that. Like Christine Graham, virtually without exception, every third sector organisation, charity or other that I meet will mention to me the strain that the national insurance contribution change has put on them. We'll continue to advocate for that to change to UK Government, and I would call on that for that again today. And I also just want to put on the record, Presiding Officer, how important a role support services play in contributing to the Government's central aim of eradicating child poverty in Scotland, ultimately freeing children from the harm, from the pain and from the limitations of poverty. And members will know that we are due to publish our third child poverty delivery plan by the end of March next year, which will set out the actions we intend to take in pursuit of our targets. And I can be clear today that the third sector will be an important part of that. We're also working with local authorities to deliver the Fairer Futures Partnership Programme. It is supported by key local third sector organisations, tailored to local areas and co-designed with the community. It's now seeing us working with 16 areas across Scotland, including in North, East and South Ayrshire. So I think it's important that we now turn this best practice and this quite groundbreaking work into business as usual. And I just want to also mention the importance of this work to my own portfolio in housing. I spend a lot of time, Presiding Officer, working with people who have lived experience of homelessness. And what they often do is will reflect three key points to me. The first one is, as Kenneth Gibson alluded to, most people can sustain one issue going wrong in their lives. Many will be able to withstand two, but most people, if they end up with 2, 3 or 4 cumulative problems in their life, will find themselves unable to cope. The second, and that often leads to homelessness. Yes, I will.
Pam Gozo.
I thank the Cabinet Secretary for taking the intervention. Cabinet Secretary, like you've just said, housing, obviously, all these components are so important to jobs, housing and good connectivity, which I did mention. It would be good to hear a little bit about the connectivity, because that was something that the organisation brought up. While it's great that there's funding going, and that was another area, multi-year funding, and I know that you covered that, which is great, but just a little bit about on the connectivity, because there's lots of small towns around, and it's so important for jobs, but also for them to get to CHAP as well, and for CHAP to get to them.
Cabinet Secretary.
I quite understand the demographic that Pam Boswell puts to me, because it's very reminiscent of my own constituency, where there is no one major centre of population and lots of towns and villages. So I'm very seized of that, and I know that the transport team within government are too, and that we are determined to be working together to make sure that what, for example, the Social Justice Secretary is doing in social security, what I'm trying to do in housing, can be facilitated by what the transport team are working on. And I'll take Mr Gibson.
Kenneth Gibson.
Thank you very much. I think if we're taking the intervention, Cabinet Secretary, it's much appreciated. The core issue really for organisations like CHAP is the insecurity of funding. So much of the resource has to go into chasing project funding, £10,000 here, £20,000 here, that it's extremely difficult for them to maintain a strong service, particularly when they're having to be involved with all sorts of multifactorial issues that face individuals. So would it not be much more cost effective for Scottish Government to ensure that instead of these organisations have to spend so much time chasing small amounts of money, that there was a solid core funding that they could enable them to consolidate the work that they actually do, thereby ultimately saving the government money and people a lot of the pain that they have to go through if they do not have organisations such as CHAP to rely on. Cabinet Secretary.
Absolutely, and I know that Mr Gibson has a really keen understanding of these issues owing to his contribution, time and position in the Finance Committee. He will understand that the government itself has been bound by annualised budgets, and therefore this has had a knock-on effect on the third sector and others that we fund. And increasingly, as we seek to try and move away from that, I know, for example, through the fairer funding pilot work that's ongoing, we are trying to institute multi-year funding more often, because we know the benefits to planning and delivery that it offers. But I'm conscious I'm over time, Presiding Officer, but I was just reflecting there that a multiple of issues going wrong is the first thing that's raised with me. The second thing is another that Mr Gibson reflected on, and that's the energy that it takes to bring oneself out of a period of difficulty. And the third thing, and I'll conclude on this point, is to say that people with lived experience of homelessness reflect most often to me is that it will be the importance of relationships that can help them go from the period of crisis that they're in to moving on with their lives. And I think that speaks perhaps most of all to the value of an organisation like CHAPS, who are, as well as their exceptional expertise, they are ultimately a human face, They are a kindness, they are a presence on the ground in our communities, standing shoulder to shoulder with people who need support, building relationships with them, and in doing so, building a bridge from, through the support that they need. And I would just conclude by saying that that relationship, that expertise and that presence in our communities is absolutely central to the Government's aims of eradicating child poverty and providing warm, safe and affordable homes as a foundational part of that.
Thank you, Cabinet Secretary. That concludes the debate, and I close this meeting.